Good morning once again. It's me, Israel Ledisma, your student teacher, and I'm going to discuss to you today the topic regarding to the factors affecting social and emotional development. Now, the social and emotional well-being of our children are important for their overall success. Mental and emotional states tend to show positive attitude towards school. On the other hand, children who have social emotional difficulties end up having troubles in the class participation. As a result, they are more likely to be rejected by the classmates and develop poor self-esteem and self-concept. This is the reflection that our learners' social and emotional health is important. And now we were going to discuss what are the factors that could affect the social and emotional development of a child. Let's start from the factors. First is the environmental risk factors, okay? From the word environmental, so we know that it talks about the environment, but we will discuss further what are the risks in terms of this factor. The environmental factor first is the poor physical surrounding. The poor physical surrounding comprises in a poor living area where recreation and playgrounds are rare, if not absent. Kaya wala gyud mga dula-dulaan, wala gyud and all. Children who come from a poor environment are typically associated with the poor health conditions and poor motor skills. Lisod po, wala po sila expose sa mga slides, sa mga swing, and also it affects their social and emotional development. The child's always at their room, in the four corners of the rooms, dili siya maayo. It should be outside playing with the peers so that you can evaluate if their social and emotional development is ga-develop ba gayud. Okay. That's one of the reasons. That poor physical surroundings is the factor that could affect the emotional and the social development of a child. Next to that is lack of health and facilities and cleanliness. For sure, it's self-explanatory that if the health facilities and cleanliness is absence, if or not, grabe na gidang or not, it affects not only the social and emotional but also the physical health of the child. So you need to expose, or we need to keep our classrooms or the environment of the child healthy, clean, so that they will able to learn more. Because, lack of health and facilities and cleanliness is one of the worst environmental factors. Cleanliness directly affects the entire well-being of children. If this will experienced by the children, they may likely experience problems in their physical and social development. Kung dugyot kayo, well, I heard this sayings that kunting dugyot sustansyang dulot. Well, that's right, maybe because we tend to forget to wash our hands before eating. But if kung hugaw na gid kaayo, it affects also mag-diarrhea, magkasakit, maglagnat and all. So that we can prevent these illnesses, we need to maintain our facility healthy and clean. Next to that is the lack of education facilities. This is one of the problem now that strongly affects the social and mental development of children. And the students who travel from long distance would suffer also emotional disturbance. Me, I experienced during my high school life nga mobaklay pagid kog isa ka barangay kung maabot dito sa school. And it's so traumatized. It can cause trauma to a child or to the student nga kanang malate bitaw ipaibot og mga sagbot, and then the first period will be mathematics, science, or English, and then they're having their final na lisod jud kaayo. So this is one also the factors and lack of educational facilities. This our lumads, our beloved lumads settlers here in Bukidnon, that they are living in the far in the tip of the mountain. You know, it's hard for them, but I see that they are striving hard to learn. But according to the book, it can develop social and emotional. True, they will suffer emotional disturbances. Now, why do you think is it? Do you think is it true that if the educational facility is too far for your home, that this could lead into emotional disturbance? That will be your assignment. That will be answered by individual in a 1/4 sheet of paper and pass it when we have our meeting this coming week. Are we good then? Now, let's proceed to our discussion. Next is the lack of community support. Kani, lack of community support, this could mean lack of friends, absence of good teacher, and deficiency of community and moral support. These factors directly affects the social environment of the children. Wala siyang amigo, wala siyang maistorya, wala siyang a person to talk to play with. It can affect the social and emotional development of a child. Frequent change of community and school. Kini, this is one also the factors. Kani mitong sige transfer of school, you can find you cannot find a true kanang best friend kay after a quarter you need to transfer to another. Yan pagkahuman wala pag ganahuman ang third grading, ni transfer na pug ka. It affects also what? The social and emotional transfer. This is common scenario when parents are forced to move due to some work-related concerns. Adjustments is another factor to be considered since all of the children can easily cope with the drastic change in their social settings. However, it can affect also your grades, especially if you're a student. Now, next to that is the family risk factor. So, those things that I discussed is we're talking is all about the environmental risk factors. Now, let's proceed to the family risk factors. So why do you think family also can affect the development in social and emotional development of a child? Home is a place where children should feel safe and secured. Is it right? Yeah, that's right. It is a place where good memories must be created and stored. However, home could be the source of negative relations and stress that could increase the risk on the child's social and emotional competencies. Why? First factor, work-related stress for parents, a parental factor that can truly affect the entire family relationship. An example of work-related stress is when a parent will work in a long distance or even overseas worker and they don't have quality time for their children. Layo kayo ang mga ginikanan, they don't have enough time like this OFW. Hilisod ba good kayo sa i-manage, but because their parents also looking forward nga when they will get old, they can support still their children through college. So, kinanglan gud pod nga mag-offers. We have different stories and we have a lot of stories to tell to others. So, dili para pareha ta og mga istorya sa kinabuhi. So, according to the book, that work-related stress from the parents could affect the social and emotional development of the child. Poor family rituals and routines. This is one also the factors. Includes time for eating, bonding or quality time, discipline in terms of sleep, and all related activities, lack of discipline in all the mentioned activities could lead to poor emotional and social development. Nagkikita kasi mong lulo, si mong uncle, si mong mama, si mong wala gid kay reaction. Walay pag-bless, walay pagmano, walay pag-say good morning, maayong buntag. Wala. You don't have the kanang hospitality factors or hospitality traits of being a Filipino na magluya. You're not welcome to the family. No, to say hi is a big deal to you, and that's the problem. So this factor also affects the emotional and social development of a child. So that's why we need to talk to our children. We need to jam with our children. We need to expose them in a practice in which close family ties, pagmamano, respect to the old, right? Are we good? Are we still seeing this kind of traits in our home? I think so. It's yes. And now let's proceed. Lack of love and respect in the relationship at home. Kani, since if there is a poor family traits and rituals, routines, so it's totally given that lack of love and respect is inside the home and relationship. Walay ni kalinaw, puro ra kagubot, sinong bagay, labi ni rahay, dinong gabay. It affects the social and emotional development of the child. Are we good? Aduna ba yung mga pangutana? Do you have any question? If you have question, please write it in our, please share your question in our inbox, in our GC, so that we could attain all of your questions. Now, let's jump to abuse and violence. This is one of the factors also that could affect the social and emotional development of your children. Influence children's emotional regulation and self-confidence. Abused children tend to exhibit unregulated emotions such as anger, fear, and even shame. Sometimes they detached themselves from peers. This is literally the worst factor. Dili lagi ka mag-istorya because you have these experiences. You have this kind of scenario na experience sa kinabuhi. So you have this hatred, anger, the fear, the trust issues. So it's hard for them to develop social and emotional development. So this is one of the factors also why there's some students nga magpa-discipline ra gyud, wala siya friend, dili makipag-istorya, dili makipag-ana. So this is one of the factors. Now let's proceed to the other. This is within child risk factor. Within child risk factors, these factors defines the inner being of a child, such as emotions, personality, and behavior. Fussy temperament. Fussy temperament or temperament is defined as the expressions of various emotional responses to the environment and situation. It is an offshoot of the interplay between biological and environmental factors. This may lead them to antisocial behavior and negative emotion. So if these things happens inside our home and in the environment factors, the home, the family risk and all, this will lead them to antisocial behavior and negative emotion. And then they will tend to say to themselves that no one cares for me, no one understands me. It's hard. So if we will experience this, make sure that we can balance and cope up those things. Find a way that you can talk to your teacher. Find a way you can talk to your friend or to your mother and father to be open, so that they will aware also that, oh, this is not good, and we could minimize this so that we can cut this kind of routine that could affect the growth socially and emotionally with the children. Now, if you have question, again, just write it in our inbox, okay? Let's move to the last topic, in which talks about the development disabilities and exceptionalities. Is a group of conditions because of some impairment in physical, learning, and language that affects behavior. Mauni siya. This is one of the factors also that could affect social and emotional development of your child if they have their disabilities. Maulaw man sila makikistorya, maulaw man sila makipag-share, ulaw sila, or they cannot speak, they cannot hear. So, they have their own world. So, it means, it can affect also social development. Wala, natingala na lang ka, nga ni katawa ng uban, yang siya di ay wala pa kay. She or he cannot digest because of these disabilities, physical factors. So, in order to attain all of these factors so that it prevents the social and emotional development, we need to assess our children. If they need special attainment, so then we will cater them in a special way. I hope that you understand about this topic. And please repeat this video if you have so please review this video so that it could help you to understand more. And if you have your question, please write it down in our group chat. I hope that we're good and we understand. We are the group 8, and thank you for listening in our report. Thank you for your time sharing with us. Goodbye and see you in the next video.